Good day everyone! We are the Group 2 and our topic for today's video is all about defense a stand on an issue by presenting reasonable arguments supported by properly cited factual evidences. In everyday life, people take sides and form opinions on anything that involves them. However, defending your point by simply saying, "Because I think so," won't help you make a case. When we face an issue and are challenged to make a stand, it is necessary for us to support with an logical arguments. It is therefore important that you learn how to properly outline your thoughts and make valid arguments. You will take part in a larger debate by stating your arguments and propose course of action. Interesting and challenging, right?
This is our objectives. First, determine different kinds of logical fallacy. Second, identify factors on authenticity and validity of evidences and information. And lastly, present reasonable arguments and factual evidences to defend a stand.
Let's enrich your vocabulary with these terms that you will encounter throughout this lesson. First, stand or your viewpoint. Second, claims. These are statements that support the author's stand or argument. Third, evidences. These are proofs or evidences to strengthen the author's claim. Fourth, fallacy. An error in reasoning which weakens an argument. Fifth, counterclaims or arguments opposing a stand.
So what are these logical fallacies? Why is there a need for you to be familiar with it? Logical fallacies are errors in reasoning that invalidate an argument. As a critical thinker, you have to identify and examine fallacies and manipulative languages. It is therefore important that you know some of the common fallacies. So the first type of fallacy that we will discuss today is the false dilemma. It occurs when an arguer presents his or her argument as one of only two options, despite the presence of multiple possibilities. This fallacy oversimplifies complex situation by presenting only two extreme options, ignoring the possibility of a middle ground or alternative solution. This fallacy can lead to poor decision-making when choices are falsely limited, overlooking nuanced perspectives and creative solution.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Jigpol, pass your report on this company on Monday.
No.
Jigpol, either you devote yourself to this company or you quit. So imagine there are two people arguing, and we will use false dilemma in this situation for you to fully understand what false dilemma is. So the next type of fallacy that we will discuss is called appeal to ignorance. It occurs when something is instantly concluded to be true just because it is not proven to be false, and vice versa. This fallacy exploits uncertainty, asserting that a statement is true because it hasn't been proven false or vice versa. It neglects the importance of evidence and critical examination, relying on gaps in knowledge rather than substantive reasoning.
We will show an example about this fallacy. Oh, Jigpol, internet says that alien is not true.
Oh, no, Harold. No one can prove that alien doesn't exist, so they must be living among us. So in simple words, appeal to ignorance means that arguing that a statement is true because it hasn't been proven false and vice versa. Third type of fallacy that we will discuss is the slippery slope. It occurs when a series of increasingly superficial and unacceptable consequences is drawn. So, this fallacy asserts that a small, seemingly action will lead to a series of catastrophic events. While legitimate concerns about consequences exist, the slippery slope fallacy exaggerates and often lacks evidence to support the predictive chain of events.
We will show an example about this fallacy. Jigpol, we must ban students from using computers.
No, Harold. If we ban students from using computers, they will not be able to do their research. And if they fail their research, Ma'am Rose will get angry. And if Ma'am Rose will get angry, we will not be able to graduate. And if we will not be able to graduate, we will not have a job. And if we do not have job, we will all die. Understand, Jikpul? You can see in that example from earlier that the guy was overthinking about the situation. So this means that in simple words, the slippery slope fallacy is asserting that a small step can lead to a disastrous consequences.
So the next fallacy is complex question. Occurs when two or more points are rolled into one and the reader is expected to accept or reject both at the same time. When one point may be satisfactory while the other is not, the fallacy involves asking a question that supposes a particular answer, making it challenging for the respondent to answer without accepting an implicit assumption. It can be a tactic to force someone into a position they might not otherwise endorse.
We will show an example about this fallacy. Jigpul, have you stopped cheating on exams?
So, in other words, complex question is asking a question that presupposes on a particular answer. Appeal to force. This fallacy attempts to persuade through coercion or threats rather than rational argumentation. It undermines open and honest discourse by substituting reasoned discussion with fear and intimidation. Occurs when a threat instead of reasoning is used to argue.
We will show an example about this fallacy. Babe, I want to watch Dora.
No, babe, we're going to watch Gladiator tonight.
No, Dora!
Babe, if you do not agree with me, we're going to break up.
From the example, we can see that the boy uses threat for the girl to agree with him. So, in other words, they trying to persuade someone by threatening them. So, the next fallacy is appeal to pity. Occurs when the element of pity is used instead of logical reasoning. This fallacy manipulates emotions to gain support, diverting attention from the matter of an argument to evoke sympathy. While empathy is important, decision should be based on sound reasoning rather than emotional manipulation.
We will show an example about this fallacy. Jigpul, you are fired because you are absent in whole month.
Sir, please do not fire me, sir, because I am absent all month. I have a family to support. My mother is sick and I have 3 children and my wife needs me, sir. Sir, please do not fire me, sir. Sir.
So, as we've shown the example, we can see that the guy is using pity for him to gain the mercy of his boss, ensure appending to win support through pity or guilt. So the next fallacy is appeal to consequences. Occurs when unpleasant consequences of believing something are pointed out to show that the belief is false. The appeal to consequences fallacy occurs when an argument validity is based on the positive or negative outcomes of the conclusion, rather than the merit of the argument itself. In other words, just because a certain conclusion would have desirable or undesirable consequences does not necessarily make the argument true or false. The strength of an argument should rely on its reasoning and evidence, not to potential outcomes.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Let's do our homework. No, we will not do our homework. If we do our homework, we will be stressed and we will not have enough time for extracurricular activities and it will negatively impact our mental health.
The next is bandwagon. The bandwagon fallacy occurs when someone argues that a claim must be true or acceptable because a large number of people believe in it or are doing it. In essence, the popularity of an idea or action is used as a substitute for evidence or sound reasoning. However, the mere fact that a majority holds a particular belief doesn't guarantee its accuracy or validity. The truth of a claim should be determined by the evidence and reasoning supporting it, rather than by the number of people who endorse it. The bandwagon fallacy can lead to the acceptance of ideas or actions without critical examination, relying solely on the appeal to popularity.
We will show an example about this fallacy. Hey, Sir Richard, let's go cutting class.
Where are we headed?
Let's go city mall.
We think about it.
Okay, I'll go now.
Let's join Jake Paul. Why? It's everyone's doing it, and it's very boring here.
The next is attacking the person. Occurs when someone tries to refute an argument by attacking the character of a person instead of attacking the ideas of the argument.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Please, Jake Paul, copy my answer. No, we can copy your answer because you're not an honor student.
Attacking the person fallacy, also known as ad hominem, occurs when an argument is redirected against the person making the claim rather than addressing the substance of the claim itself. Instead of providing counter-arguments or evidence, this fallacy involves attacking the character, motives, or personal attributes of the individual presenting the argument. Discrediting the person making the claim does not invalidate the actual argument they. A valid argument should be evaluated based on its reasoning and evidence, independent of the person delivering it. Engaging it ad hominem attacks can divert attention from the actual issues at hand and hinder constructive and rational discourse. The next one is appeal to authority. Occurs when the argument quotes an expert who is not qualified in the particular subject matter. The appeal to authority fallacy occurs when an argument relies on the endorsement or opinion of an authority figure or expert, rather than presenting sound reasoning or evidence to support a claim. Just because someone is considered an authority in a particular field doesn't mean their opinion is infallible, or that they are necessarily correct in every context. The strength of an argument should come from the logic and evidence it presents, not simply from the authority status of the person making the claim. Accepting an argument based solely on the authority of the speaker without critically evaluating the underlying reasoning can lead to errors in judgment and flawed conclusions.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey guys, check this out. Bill Gates used the CEO of Microsoft. He recommended to use this soap. Yay! The next fallacy is anonymous authority. This fallacy cites an unnamed authority, making it challenging to verify the credibility and expertise of the source. It highlights the importance of transparency in providing reliable information. When an unspecified source is used as evidence for the claim, this is commonly indicated by phrases such as they say that, it has been said, I heard that, studies show, or generalized groups such as scientists say. When we fail to specify a source of the authority, we can't verify the source. Thus, the credibility of the argument. Appeals to anonymous sources are more often than not a way to fabricate, exaggerate, or misrepresent facts in order to deceive others into accepting your claim. At times, this deception is done subconsciously. It might not always be deliberate.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey guys, experts claim that eating peanuts causes pimples.
Who is that expert?
It's not mentioned here. Wow.
The next fallacy is hasty generalization. Hasty generalization is a mistake in reasoning where a conclusion is drawn for insufficient or biased evidence. It's like saying all apples are sour just you bit into one green apple. Making broad claims about an entire group based on limited or unrepresentative examples overlooks the diversity within the group. It's similar to judging a whole book by reading just one page. To avoid hasty generalization, it's important to gather a more comprehensive and varied set of evidence before forming conclusions about larger categories or ideas.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey guys, I saw a foreigner from America. I think he's very rude, so therefore Americans are rude.
In simple words, hasty generalization occurs when a sample is not significant enough to support generalization about a population.
The next fallacy is accident. The accident fallacy, also known as the hasty generalization of a special case, occurs when a general rule is applied to a specific case it was not intended to cover. It's like having a rule that says no snacks allowed in the living room and then concluding that a single apple eaten there must be against the rules. This fallacy arises when an exemption or special circumstance is treated as if it represents the entire rule. Disregarding the specific condition that lead to the exemption, it's important to recognize and address the unique aspects of individual cases rather than applying broad rules in situations where they may not be appropriate.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey, you didn't see that car coming? Jaywalking is not allowed here. You should not have done that, even when you are being chased by the terrorists.
In simple words, accident occurs when a general rule is applied to a situation, even when it should be an exception.
The next fallacy is complex cause. Complex cause fallacy occurs when someone attributes a single oversimplified cause to a multifaceted outcome. By oversimplifying the factors contributing to an event, this fallacy overlooks the complexity of real-world situations. It's crucial to acknowledge that outcomes often results from a combination of various factors, and reducing them to a singular cause can lead to a distorted understanding of the situation.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Father, here's my report card.
Why you feel?
The exam's very hard. Even our highest honors are failed.
In simple words, complex cause occurs when the explanation for an event is reduced to one thing when there are other factors which also contribute to the event.
The next fallacy is wrong direction. Occurs when the direction between cause and effect is reversed. This fallacy introduces irrelevant information to divert attention from the main issue. It undermines constructive discourse by shifting and focus away from the central argument. The term wrong direction refers to a logical fallacy that occurs when the direction between cause and effect is reversed. An example of this fallacy is when it is claimed that liver damage leads to alcoholism instead of the other way around. This is an error in reasoning that invalidates an argument.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey guys, for me, liver damage leads to alcoholism.
The next fallacy is false analogy. This fallacy assumes that because two things are alike in some ways, they are alike in others. It neglects crucial differences, leading to faulty comparisons and erroneous conclusions. A false analogy is an informal fallacy that occurs when an argument is based on misleading, superficial, or impossible comparisons. It involves assuming that because two things are alike in one or more respects, they are necessarily alike in some others respect.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Richard, use these drugs. Why? Drugs are like massages. They make you feel better.
The next fallacy is irrelevant conclusion. This fallacy fails to address the core issue and introduce a tangential point. It can mislead by diverting attention from the primary topic of discussion. Irrelevant conclusion refers to an informal fallacy in which an argument may not be logically valid and sound, but fails to address the issue in question. It is also known as ignoratio elenchi or missing the point. This fallacy occurs when the conclusion changes the point that is issue in the premises. The fallacy irrelevant conclusion should not be confused with a formal fallacy, which is an argument whose conclusion does not follow from its premises.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey guys, we must support the fight for gender equality. Between men and women, women have suffered enough violence at home. Violence against women must be stopped.
The next fallacy is affirming the consequent. This fallacy incorrectly concludes that if the consequent of conditional statement is true, then the antecedent must be true. It overlooks the need for additional affirming the consequent is logical fallacy where one assumes that if a statement is true, its converse must also be true. It involves the invalid inference that if P implies Q is true, and Q is true, then P must be true as well. It's important to recognize this flaw in reasoning.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey guys, are you drinking beer? Yes. If you are drinking beer, then you have a problem. Therefore, if you have a problem, you are drinking beer. The next fallacy is denying antecedent. The denying the antecedent fallacy is a logical error that occurs when one mistakenly assumes that if a condition or the antecedent is not met, then the consequence or the consequent is also not valid. It's like saying if it's not raining, then the ground is dry, and concluding that if it's raining, the ground must be wet. This fallacy overlooks the facts that the ground could be wet for various reasons beyond rain. It correctly infers the inverse of a conditional statement, neglecting other potential causes for the outcome. To avoid this fallacy, one should recognize that the absence of a specific condition does not necessarily include the possibility of the intended consequence.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
Hey guys, are you drinking beer?
Yes.
If you are drinking beer, then you have a problem. If you're not drinking beer, then you do not have a problem. In simple words, any argument of the form if A is true, then B is true. If A is not true, then B is not true.
The next fallacy is inconsistency. This fallacy occurs when arguments contradict one another. Inconsistency refers to the quality or state of being inconsistent, which can manifest as a lack of agreement, harmony, or uniformity among things or parts. It can also involve containing ideas, statements, or arguments that not agree with each other. Inconsistency can be observed in various contexts, such as in behavior, performance, medical care,
parenting, or between ideas or propositions.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
A. Ace is if Rachel is older than Ace, and if Ace is older than me, then you two both are gay. Huh? What?
The next fallacy is straw man. The straw man fallacy occurs when someone distorts or misrepresents their opponent's argument to make it easier to attack or refute, essentially creating a weaker version of the original stance. It's like if one person argues for stricter environmental regulation to reduce population, and their opponent responds by claiming they want to shut down all industries, which is an exaggerated and inaccurate representation. By attacking this exaggerated straw man instead of addressing the actual argument, the fallacy sidesteps the real issues and misleads the discussion. To engage in fair and constructive debate, it's essential to address the genuine points made by the other side rather than attacking a distorted version of their position.
We will show an example about this fallacy.
We should relax the law governing the allowed smoking areas in the city.
No, we should not because the number of smoker might increase.
In simple words, the straw man occurs when the position of the opposition is twisted so that it is easier to refute.
The next fallacy is post hoc. It is an informal fallacy that states, since event A followed event B, event A must have been caused by event B. This fallacy assumes that because one event follows another, the first event caused the second. It ignores other potential explanations and emphasizes the importance of establishing causal relationships based on evidence. Post hoc refers to the logical fallacy of assuming that because one event follows another, the first event caused the second. It's important to avoid attributing causation based solely on temporal order.
We will show an example about this fallacy. Jigful,
Yes.
Aling Dina crashed on a tree.
Oh! In this morning, Aling Dina saw a black cat. That black cat must be the reason why they met an accident. So those are the different kinds of fallacies. Warning, do not use these fallacies when you are defending your stand. It weakens your argument. So what are the things that you have to do in order to refrain from these fallacies? So let's discuss on the next topic. So in the next topic, it is called factors on authenticity and validity of evidences or information.
First, the relevance of the source. How well does the source support your stand? You can check the title, table of contents, summary, introduction, or heading of the text to have a sense of its content. The second one is authority or author's qualification. Is the author's name identified? Is the author's background, education, or training related to the topic? If the source does not have an author, think twice before using it. Legitimate academic text must include citations. Citations demonstrate that the writer has thoroughly researched the topic and is not plagiarizing the material.
Currency and date of publication. What is the date of publication? In most fields, the data from the older publications may no longer be valid. As much as possible, the date of publication should be at most 5 years earlier.
Contents and accuracy of information. Does the author have a lot of citation in his or her text and or bibliography or works cited section? You do not want to use source that is defutable, so make sure to verify your findings with multiple sources.
Location of the sources. Where was the source published? Was it digitally or in print? Is it a book, an academic journal, or a reputable news source? Does it provide complete publication information such as authors, editors, title, date of publication, and publisher? what is the URL of the website. Avoid using blogs or personal homepage and wiki sites like Wikipedia, Wiktionary, Wikicodes. If URL includes the top-level domain like .edu, then that means that it has been published by an academic institution such as university.
C. Contains a clear proposition or statement that must be defended. A. Assesses conflicting opinions or opposing views on the issue. D. Takes a firm stand on the issue.
L. Lists arguments in an organized manner to defend the stand. C. Consider your audience or reader.
That's all for our topic in English for academic and professional purposes. Defense stand on an issue by presenting reasonable arguments supported by properly cited factual evidence.